Well, it's Wednesday already, though probably some of you are saying, man, it's finally Wednesday because your week is dragging by. But it's time for Wednesday's Word, and so it's great, and I appreciate you joining me today for this just brief message. Again, I'm just trying to bring a little midweek encouragement word, a little bit of a challenge kind of idea, about 8 to 10 minutes each Wednesday while we're going through this very special time. First of all, probably many of you have already heard that Governor Baker has already extended the request, the prohibition, if you will, of meetings over 10 people through May the 4th, which means that for Hope Chapel, our public services will be restricted to the Sunday morning live service that we've been doing. So again, we'll be recording each Sunday morning live at 9 o'clock, giving you an opportunity to participate in real time in worship so we can corporately worship together even though we're doing it independently. You know, and I really want to encourage you to stay tuned to our e-letter that goes out towards the end of each week. And if you don't get it, you can sign up right through our website. At the bottom of the page, there's a place to sign up. There's almost 600 of you that already get it on a weekly basis. And you'll be watching for all the details related to Easter, because we are going to try to do some special things during Holy Week, even though we can't gather together for it in public service. You know, we toyed really quite a bit about trying to do something on Easter Sunday together, whether we did some kind of a drive-in service or did a sunrise service in person. But I got to tell you, you know, as we got closer and closer, that just didn't feel right. You know, we'd be in a season where our authorities are asking us not to gather in large groups. And here, you know, if we could be confident it was just going to be 30 or 40 people, we know we could socially distance and have a meaningful time together. But again, our communication goes out to literally, you know, 600 email addresses. We have 300 different family units that are active at Hope Chapel in some capacity or another. And without knowing, I mean, what if came Easter sunrise morning and there were 300 people here, you know, and we didn't know how we would actually be able to do all that social distancing. And it's just not a risk that we were willing to take for Hope Chapel to become the epicenter, if you will, of a coronavirus outbreak in northern Worcester County. So we've decided to put that aside and really focus on delivering the most meaningful experience that we could have independently, even though we go through it together through the course of Holy Week. So be looking for the e-letters that'll go out. We're looking to try to do some videos that will support some daily devotional time, some special prayer and fasting on Good Friday, some kind of a Good Friday service together that evening, and then of course launching into Easter morning as well. So appreciate your prayers. But today is April 1st, April Fool's Day for some of you. And, you know, I can remember as a kid trying to pull off lots of April Fool's pranks on family members and things. In fact, I heard this morning about a scenario where a parent got up and started running through the house at 6 a.m., said, get up, we got to evacuate, you know, and then finally when everybody was out of bed, said April Fools. So that kind of stuff goes on. But so I thought I'd use April Fools to tap into some passages of scripture out of the book of Proverbs that talk about how not to be a fool, right? So, and to try to make some applications to what we're going through right now. So, of course, the book of Proverbs is just full of statements related to the wise and the foolish, and I can't go through all of them. So I've just picked out a few. And so let me read these for you as we go along and just make a few observations. And hopefully there'll be a challenge to you, an encouragement, maybe remind you of something, refortify what you're trying to do, that kind of thing. But the first of those comes from Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7, right up front. It says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of all wisdom. Fools despise wisdom and discipline. Again, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of all wisdom. Fools despise wisdom and discipline. Again, certainly there's lots of applications you can make of this passage of scripture, but when I think about what we're going on through right now, you know, we say we believe in the sovereignty of God. Doesn't mean that God's the author of evil, but it does mean that everything that is occurring is somehow or another in accordance with God's plan for us. And we also know that he says he works all things for good for us. And so here we are in one of these moments, and God has disrupted our lives, right? And in ways that we don't really want them to be disrupted. There's some form of teaching lesson in there, because if God is sovereign and this is meant for our good, there's an opportunity for you and I to learn some things, right? And a lot of us, we just want to whine, we just want to complain, we're frustrated, we're bored, we feel isolated, all those kinds of things. And none of those are illegitimate feelings. But at the same time, this is a moment where God's trying to teach us something. And if we're going to be wise instead of foolish, if we're foolish, we're just going to reject this and saying this is a useless moment where I'm not getting anything done. Whereas God really may want to use it in a very worthwhile, profitable way in our lives. Moment for us to maybe learn patience, to learn how to slow down, how to simplify, a chance for us to really reassess, reflect, think about some stuff that we usually don't have time to think about. Maybe even begin to some projects that we've been putting off and ending our procrastination. There's lots of fruitful things that can be helpful for us. The second is kind of a conglomeration of scriptures, I think, that are really appropriate. And I'll start with the first one from Proverbs 29:11. It says, "A fool gives full vent to his anger, but a wise person holds it in check." And then Proverbs 12:16, kind of along the same line. "A fool's displeasure is known at once," right? "But whoever ignores an insult is sensible." And then Proverbs 17:9, just a portion of that. "Whoever conceals an offense promotes love." What this passage of scripture says, it's not hard for us to let people know that we're upset, angry, mad, frustrated, etc. It's easiest for us to do those kinds of things, right? And yet it's fools are the ones who just give instantaneous access to their emotions rather than running their emotions through their values, through their feelings, those kinds of things, to run their emotions through who they want to be, what they want to be known for, how they want to speak, how they want to connect, how they want to relate, right? And it says the wise person is the one who can ignore an insult. The wise person is the one who holds their anger in check, right? And any fool can start an argument. Any fool can start a conflict, right? Anybody can do that. But to maintain peace, to keep things flowing, and those kinds of things, and keep it in a positive environment for us, that takes wisdom, right? And this is probably especially applicable right now to our families who are spending a lot of time together, right? You're with your spouses and with your kids in ways that you haven't done in a long, long time, and we can get on each other's nerves, right? And I know I've talked about this before, but and yet if we're wise, we're resting in God's strength, and we're running what we're feeling through what we know to be right in the eyes of God and the ways we want to be as a parent or as a child or whatever, as a sibling, we can get through this. And one of my prayers, and I was in a prayer group yesterday online with a group of pastors, and one of the things we prayed was that our families right now that are spending a lot more time together, and it looks like it's going to be the better part of 2 months we're going to be in this scenario, that this is a moment for your kids, right? And I'm praying that, 15, 20 years from now, when your kids are 25, 30, whatever, they're going to look back on it and say, those 2 months were the best part of my childhood. Because I got to be with my mom and dad every single day at home, and most of our attention was focused on one another. And if we're going to do that, we got to do it with wisdom. And we can't be a fool who just gives immediate vent to our anger and frustration, right? And we've got to learn to ignore insults and grant each other some space and grace, and some great things can happen. Here's the last one, right? Proverbs 13:20. "The one who walks with the wise will become wise, but a companion of fools will suffer harm." And walking for us together right now is really a lot different, right? Because we can't do that in person, or at least we have to be at 6 feet apart, right, along those lines. But I got to tell you, that just because we can't be physically present with one another doesn't mean that we're not walking together. And I don't believe walking just means relationship, because we're supposed to be connected with people who need us. I think what walking here is really talking about is those things, those people we let influence us. Change what we think, what we value, our opinions, the way we react, what we say, and those kinds of things. And right now, we're a lot of that is happening online, right? Probably more so than any other time. we're having more screen time than normal because it's our primary way that we're connecting with one another and all that kind of stuff. And I got to tell you, we just need to be careful in this season. There's a lot of negativity online, and I see that even out of believers, that there's just a lot of anger. There's a lot of frustration, hostility, those kinds of things, and name calling and whatnot, and that stuff just shouldn't be so. We shouldn't let that stuff be influencing us when we take it on. I mean, I saw a social post not too long ago where a believer, somebody claiming to be a proponent of God's grace, is calling a whole group of people a bunch of rats that need to be exterminated, and that kind of stuff just shouldn't be happening. So be careful. Be careful when you're online. Be careful about who you are letting influence you, because we always want to be the people who speak truth, but man, we want to do it with love. And we want to do it in love, right? So my challenge to us today, our invitation, be wise. God's given us everything that we need to be wise. And on April Fool's Day, it's a great day for you and I to commit to being people who live with God's wisdom. God bless. Have a great rest of your week and look for our e-letter. Take care.